This is my first major championship in 20 years. And I mean this, whether you love me or hate me, whether you support the campaign or wish for my demise, it has been a pleasure and an honor to compete inside a TNA ring.
Hey, now it's Brace for Impact, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert, and I'm going solo on that ass, but it's still the same. We're talking TNA Wrestling. This is a live No Surrender recap right here on the Mike and JD Show YouTube channel, so thank you for being here. Please hit that like button. Please be a subscriber, and lay down a comment, man. Tell me what you think, and if you are so inclined, head over to patreon.com/the Mike and JD Show. We got tons of content over there. So if you were wondering where my Impact Wrestling episode, TNA Impact episode recap is this week, well, that's where it's at. It's on Patreon. I actually recorded that late Thursday night, and everybody got a chance to check that out yesterday morning. So if you want to know what I thought about the show this past week, go ahead and head over there. And also, I talked about all the latest news that's happening in TNA up to Thursday. So all the Josh Alexander and Steve Macklin stuff and everything else that was going on. Yeah, this is going to be the No Surrender recap show, so I do appreciate you being here. I literally just finished the show. I watched most of it yesterday, and I planned on finishing it last night and actually doing the show last night, and not like a live stream, just to record it and put it up. My plans changed last night, so that didn't quite work out. So here I am at 6:17 in the morning, beautiful Hawaii Standard Time. So swig of coffee for the working man. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, that tastes amazing. And I know some people just got done watching Elimination Chamber. I heard about that show. I do plan on checking that out. I think I'm gonna watch most of it, but I'm glad I didn't watch it live. Like, it was on, like, I've been up for a little while, and I would have been able to catch the ending of Elimination Chamber, but I heard that it was not a good idea to watch it until after it's already completed. That way you could skip like the 20 minutes in between matches and all that stuff. So that's what I do plan on doing. I don't think I'm gonna watch that all the way through. I'm gonna have to skip a bunch of stuff, but I will. I'll take over to the Patreon to make sure that I can do a recap of that show. Sorry. Hold on. Just need another swig of coffee for the working man. Yeah, it's early, guys. It's early, but I am excited. I'm stoked to be here. I had a really good time watching No Surrender. So, but before we get to that, let's talk about some of the latest news. This came out in the Observer yesterday, and I did not get a chance to cover this on my episode on Thursday night. So this is from the Wrestling Observer as aggregated by Wrestle Purists. Nobody tell Rich and Joe that I'm using Wrestle Purists. They might get a little salty. You're not even allowed to, in the Voices of Wrestling Discord, you're not even allowed to put Wrestle Purist tweets in there because the way they aggregate, they don't actually link you back to the original content. All right, they will do a tweet and then they will put it on their website, and then once you go to their website, you can find the link buried like at the bottom. That's kind of shady, but for the purposes here, I did not want to pull up the Observer again and like scroll through, and it's visually it's not something that's fun to share screen, so they make it easy to share screen. So and I do have some friends that work over Wrestle Purists, so I don't think they're bad guys. Just not a lot of people agree with their form of media here. But anyway, here we are. According to two sources close to the negotiations and one involved, the group led by Scott D'Amore offered $10 million to purchase TNA. So he offered Anthem $10 million, $10 million plus assuming all existing debts the company had, as well as the trade debts. So what that means is he was actually, they were going to be able to walk away with $10 million in cash for it without having any debt. So he was going to assume all the debt. So, there's no telling how much debt there is, but the story did go on to say that the D'Amore Group valued TNA at anywhere in between $7 and $12 million. He offered 10 in cash and taking in all the debts. So probably he was actually offering them more than $12 million, and they turned it down. And that's interesting to me, because I think that changes the narrative about the company a little bit. Now, somebody's going to come in here and say, well, he's crazy and Anthem's crazy. They're all stupid. There's no way TNA is worth all that. Well, how do you know? It's possible, guys. It is possible that us podcasters and all the bloggers and the people on Twitter, they don't have the data points that Anthem and Scott D'Amore has. It's very possible they don't. Now, maybe D'Amore and the people he got to lend him money, maybe they're all stupid. Maybe Anthem full of dipshits. I think that's a real possibility. Maybe D'Amore is thinking with his heart, and so is Anthem. Or, and I think, it could be a combination of all of it. Maybe Anthem has data points that tells them that while they were not happy with Scott D'Amore's performance, which is probably why they let him go, they felt like the people that they're putting in charge now could get them further along and be a more sustainable company than what Scott D'Amore had. And Scott D'Amore is like, hey, if I get these Anthem people out of the way, and I spend this money, maybe, just maybe, this is a more sustainable company, right? And that it is worth what I'm asking, what I'm offering. And Anthem's like, not only is it worth what you're offering, it's too valuable to us to let go. And people don't seem to understand why that would be. And look, I'm not saying that TNA is like a super profitable company. I don't think there's any possible that it's like a profitable venture. And simply because like they don't get a TV rights fee. It's all production costs. So it's like the cost of production. So Access is not like paying them for the talent. They just give them a budget. So everything that they earn goes back into like a budget that Anthem hands down every single year. So it's like, it's a different business model than say AEW or WWE, who is built off of rights fees. And AEW specifically is built off of not only rights fees, but like assuming debt, hoping that a bigger rights fee is going to pay off later to make them profitable, which they're not at this point. So, I found that because I've been hearing for the last 2 weeks that TNA is nothing but a money pit. It's a big money loser, and Anthem would love to get rid of it. And then the story comes out that Scott D'Amore offered to buy it, but Anthem didn't take him up on it, and we all thought maybe he just didn't offer like that much money. But now that it's come out that the $10 million figure plus assuming debts, which could take it up to like, several million more, where they would have been able to walk away with 10 million in cash, tells me that this thing is a very valuable property to Anthem, and they're not looking to get rid of it anytime soon. Now, if he would have come in with like 20 million, they might have like they might have like, okay, like, yeah, that's a pretty damn good offer. But I don't know. Are we all just crazy? Is Anthem or is TNA just this big waste of money and a money pit that's never going to be successful, or is it the opposite? Is it something that could make money one day? Clearly, there's two people, Scott D'Amore and Len Asper, that believe that it could. And this also brings up another question. Did Scott D'Amore, did he have a TV deal that maybe we don't know about, like in his back pocket? I'm not saying like a profitable television deal, but maybe like an ad split or something like that. Did he have something on the table in order that would make him think that this thing would be profitable? because I think a lot of people want to say that this guy is a stupid person and that he's a fool. I just don't know that. I just don't think that's true. I just don't. There has to be something about this company that people think will make money because they're willing to spend so much on it. I don't think that these are all just dumb people. I could be wrong. That maybe they're all delusional fools. I think that's a possibility. But I'm also, and I might be one of the few that is kind of like in the like a reasonable TNA podcast space. What I mean is like there are some podcasts out there that only ever see the good in TNA, and I think that's fine. You need those people too. I feel like they're a little brainwashed, but hey, they're good people. But then there's other guys like myself and BQ who are very reasonable people, and can kind of look at the good and the bad, and we take a more measured approach when we're talking about TNA. And I think it is very possible that TNA isn't as bad off as people think, which is why Anthem is willing to hold on to it, and which is why Scott D'Amore was willing to go get investors together to make this big offer. Now, a lot of people are like, "Oh, that's not that much money." It was like, honestly, I 10 million and plus debts I thought was pretty high. You know, I thought you could probably get this thing for like half of that. Especially considering like without a TV deal in your back pocket, you could probably get like half of that. Because what are you getting at that point? You're getting the name, the likeness, the contracts, the equipment, and then of course the YouTube, which I think probably does pretty well, and then the app, and then all the fast networks, the free like Pluto channels and all that stuff, and Plex channels and all that stuff they got. So I thought that, you know, like maybe like $5 or 5 million was probably like legit, like what you could get it for. But he offered double that plus debts, so maybe even triple, and he couldn't get it. So there's something fishy about this whole thing, and we're going to continue covering it because there's a lot going on in TNA. But I think the chaos stopped for one day. If this was like a tough week, and I posted a video on our YouTube yesterday, and I got a lot of heat for it. And I put the thing in the picture, total nonstop chaos, and Colby accused me of this guy Colby Cooper and TNA fan, a nice guy by the way. He's like a super hardcore fan, and he accused me of being a little bit clickbaity, and I was just like, it's like, that's pretty like attention grabbing. I don't think it'd be what I consider clickbaity is like I am like saying something that I don't believe to be true in order to get attention. But that was very much an attention getting headline, but that's like marketing 101, right? If you have boring thumbnails and you don't have like strong positions, no one's going to talk to you or listen to you. So there is some of that. That's kind of part of the deal. It's kind of part of the gig, what we do here, right? We've got to be interesting. But I didn't think that was clickbaity, because I did feel like the company's been in chaos since, the last couple of weeks. Really, since they left the Orlando show. They fired Scott D'Amore. Talent's in an uproar. They send this letter over to Len Asper begging him for his job back. And then Josh Alexander asks out of his deal, or he asked them not to extend his deal for pick up his option, his player or the company option. But they did it anyway, and they sent out a press release. Now he's going to be fine. He's a professional. I don't think there's going to be issues with Josh. But he did post the emoji, the hourglass emoji, which signifies to me that he's waiting to get out of his deal, and that's kind of what the dirt sheets picked up on that too. That's what they think as well, that he's like looking to get out of his deal. And I think that's like a very much a possibility. But now they have like 12 months to prove themselves to Josh Alexander, to say, hey, we're a serious company. We're not going to kill the budget. And we want to be players in the space. We want to carve out like a very strong number 3 in the United States market. Because right now I would, depending on the week, you could probably keep them at like number 3. They're pretty like consistent. New Japan New Japan in America, they don't really run enough shows, you know what I mean? And they're not really getting like, Impact kind of doubles their TV ratings, and I think they probably do a lot more on pay-per-view because they're on traditional cable pay-per-view versus New Japan is really only on Fight TV. And then New Japan World, of course. So I think the argument could be made that they're probably like already like a sustainable number 3, but people would argue otherwise because New Japan's ticket sales are so much stronger, which you get when you have access to AEW talent on your shows, and they have access to John Moxley, who's like a top 5 star in AEW, so he really helps their ticket sales. And that's not a knock on New Japan. That's smart, right? If you get access to that guy, you use him. Right, you leverage your partnerships. That's why, like, when TNA was doing really good with Kenny Omega at the helm, and everybody's like giving all the credit to Kenny Omega, I was like, we got to give some credit to Impact because they're leveraging a partnership to be able to book a talent to make their show bigger. You get credit for that. So, but yeah, so they have 12 months, and then they only got like 2 months to prove themselves to Steve Macklin. I think Macklin's gone, unfortunately, and that's disappointing. So we'll keep covering that. Besides all that, hold on, the world is staged. This guy thinks everybody's at work. But he says Len Asper and Anthony from Anthem Sports was there. I seen them. Yeah. So they were. So PW Insider did report that. Let me go. It said they reported that all the top Anthem sports and entertainment executives were on hand in New Orleans for the first event after D'Amour's firing. They also reported that there was an attendance of 750 for the show, and that the company added more seats after initially being set up for 600. The crowd looked good, and the crowd was lively. And if you take a look at this show versus the last time they were there, like 2 years ago, when I think it was 2 years ago, when my friend Brady was able to just walk in. I love telling that story, but they did one of their stupid Twitter contests where if you take a picture in front of like the stadium and tweet it to them, like you get in for free. And but like nobody participated except Brady, and he did it like hours before the show, and they never responded to him. And so, like, since he was the only one, he technically won the contest, but the Twitter account never responded back to them. Like, they just gave up on the contest. And so he was like, he messaged me. He's like, what should I do? I was like, just go in. I was like, they probably look, they're having trouble selling tickets. Clearly they're wanting to give free ones away. They'll probably just let you in for free. And sure enough, he showed him his tweet and that he won the contest. And there's yeah, come on in. And he tried to do that this time. But it was a hotter ticket this time, and the bastards made him pay. And he's a disgrace for paying. I told him, like, you need to sneak in. So we have a story to tell on Brace for Impact. But he capitulated. He ultimately gave in, and he paid for his ticket like a real jerk. Now I don't get to tell the story again, but it's all good. I still love Brady. Hold on, swig of coffee for the working man, guys. It is 6:33 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time. Thank you for joining us right here on Brace for Impact. Lastly, before we get into the recap portion, tonight is the TV tapings in New Orleans, and I think Len Asper is going to be addressing the troops, and you can bet your ass that they might as well have Mike Johnson and Sean Ross Sapp on speakerphone during that meeting, because like an exact transcript is going to make its way over to them. In fact, I thought it was pretty funny. Sapp tweeted a video, like the full 5-minute video of Eric Young addressing the Impact fans, saying a bunch of buzzwords and stuff. I didn't think it was like, I didn't think that it was like that big of a deal that he did that. But and the body language of the town was like, oh, this is kind of awkward. Like that, the whole thing just seemed awkward to me. He's trying to rally the fans behind him, but anyway, he had like the full 5-minute video, and it very much was somebody from the company sent it to him, like where the person was placed, like, and the way it was shot, it was like very much like somebody that works there that's a professional videoed that for him and texted it to him or emailed it to him or whatever, and then he posted it during the actual event. So yeah, they might as well have him on speed dial or on speakerphone during that thing. That way he gets a more accurate transcript of the meeting. But But yeah, let's get into the No Surrender live results, guys. I was worried about this show. I was not really all that impressed with the card going into it because, like I said, like we had already seen a lot of these matches before. Like we had just seen Moose and Alex Shelley, and while that was a pretty good match, it wasn't like blow away to where I thought we needed to see it again. And I thought the stipulation was a little bit wonky, but it turned out to pay off. And then we'd seen the Grizzly Young Vets in ABC. We'd seen them wrestle each other in their match twice already, and then but they had also wrestled at Hard to Kill. But I think they showed out, and then of course Mustafa Ali in the main event I thought was really good. So overall, I thought this was a very good pay-per-view, and I was excited. I'm excited to talk to you guys about it because nothing like talking about good ass pro wrestling, and that's what we had. That's what we had in this. So I did not watch the pre-show. So I do have to tell you that I did not get around to the pre-show, but on the pre-show, the Rascals defeated Speedball Mountain. I hate that name. And what else? The System defeated the Jet Setters. So lots of tag team stuff. I liked that we're kind of like, expanding this tag team division a little bit. And after the night, I think maybe we'll get more Motor City Machine Guns in tag team action soon. So let's beef up this tag team division. But we go to No Surrender, and the opening match was Eric Young defeating Frankie Kazarian to earn a future TNA World Title match. And as we already know, the announcement was that he'll be getting his title match in Windsor, Ontario at Sacrifice in just a couple of weeks. He'll be taking on Moose. So, spoiler alert. But this was a good pro wrestling match. This was like a solid, like 3.5 stars, like two veterans in their 40s, hard hitting, just very, very good pro wrestling match. I was surprised that Eric Young won this, considering Frankie just turned heel. I thought maybe they would be going with Frankie for a little bit, but once they made the announcement that it was going to be a number one contender match, I then realized that, how do they get out of this? So I thought it was going to be some kind of crappy finish to where they make it a three-way, but then they put the match first. I was like, okay, we're going to have a clean finish. It's probably going to be Eric Young now. And that's what we had. It was a good match. Eric Young, Alyssa Kazarian landed a backstabber and a fade to black for a 2.9. And then Kazarian got all hot at the referee, was arguing. And then while he was distracted, Eric Young got the crucifix for the win. I thought this was a pretty good match. I dug it. I just a little curious that they're going with Eric Young here. I mean, it is Canada, but I assumed that this would be the PCO spot. But this is what they're doing. So Eric Young gets a title shot. So good for him. Him and Moose will most likely have a very good match. So looking forward to that. After the match, Kazarian yelled at the ref and set him down with a clothesline before landing a series of punches and grounded kicks. He beat the shit out of this referee, and I'd never seen this referee before. I could be wrong. I don't think he's ever been on TNA before, so I think he got this spot to get his ass kicked. He might not come back. Now, at the beginning of the match, I thought it was pretty interesting that Frankie told Jade Chung to make the announcement that he is the king of TNA. I wonder if they're going to do a king gimmick with Frankie, like maybe like a King Frankie or King Kazarian, the king of TNA. I wonder if they're going that way. That'd be pretty annoying, which like would work. So that would be interesting. I'm curious to see if they go that way with him. They're gonna have to do something different now because he just won clean right after his heel turn. So where do they go with Frankie now? We'll see. We'll see at the tapings where he ends up. But and then we go to I'm gonna say like the second best match of the night. And I always reserve the right to change my mind later, like upon further review. But ABC defeated the Grizzly Young Veterans. I was surprised by this outcome, but I thought the vets would take it. But this tells me the vets probably are not sticking around that long. I could be wrong about that, but they never got the TNA graphic, so I'm thinking they're on a per date deal here, and maybe they've already fulfilled their contractual dates. So I hope I'm wrong about that. I hope I'm wrong because I do think that they add a lot to not only to the division, which seems to be getting stronger. This tag division is the strongest it's been probably since I've been covering the company. This was an amazing match. Second best match of the night, in my opinion. And I think one of the big moments of the match was whenever the Grizzly Young Vets hit a doomsday device on the outside to Ace Austin. That looked tough, man. That was pretty incredible, man. It was like so one of the dudes had Austin on his back, and then the other dude, I think it was I get their names mixed up. So like GYV hair and GYV bald. I think we'll kind of do that gimmick like we do with FTR, but he dove through the ropes and hit the other guy off the guy's shoulders, and that was pretty fucking awesome. And then Bay stood alone in the ring against both members of the GYV and kicked away at both men to give himself a slight advantage. Until a run-up famouser on Gibson. Gibson trapped him in a corner for a draping lung blower and a Drake coast-to-coast drop kick for a 2.9. That was incredible. And then they ended up getting a 1-2 sweet, ends it, and the ABC retained the TNA World Tag Team titles in a best-of-3 series. I loved the whole series. I loved this thing, and I'm kind of sad that it's over. I typically not a big fan of like rematch after rematch after rematch, but I thought it worked here. I thought that was awesome. But with ABC winning clean over the heels, I think the feud is over, and I wonder where the Grizzly Young Vets go next. So, let's go before I get on to we have some people in the chat. So before I continue, let me get into the chat. Let's see. The world is staged. Says I'll be at the TV tapings as well. TNA Wrestling always delivers. So I'm glad you had fun, dude. And then Kurt Kaysen, not a Moose fan. Not a Moose fan. He says Moose stinks. I don't know. Maybe he uses cologne. I've never been that close to him. King of the Mountain, baby. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Next we go to PCO defeats Khan by DQ. This stunk. This was a dud. You guys, hold on. Brady, why is your name Kurt Kaysen on YouTube? Why don't you just use your real name? Like, you're not a double agent, you fucking butthead. And get a haircut. That's funny. Oh, man. All right, so I think Brady's probably the only guy that liked PCO versus Khan. It was trash. It was a goddamn waste of time. They came in. Khan was lumbering around like a fucking goof, and he trying to look scary and did some poorly executed moves, and then ended up just hitting PCO after a couple minutes with a chair, and then they just brawled for a while, and then he did his stupid neck breaker thing, like where he twists the neck, and it reminded me of like 1995 WCW when they would do that to Hulk Hogan. I think it was the Yeti. I think it was, you guys can correct me, I'm pretty sure like in 95 the Yeti did that to Hulk Hogan, did the neck breaker thing, and it looks so cheesebally. And but we're bringing back 95 WCW here in TNA with Big Con, who is about as athletic as the Yeti in 95 WCW. But it looks like this feud is going to live on. Oh yeah, and then Khan zip tied PCO to the tunnel, but he didn't know how to use the zip tie, and like it wasn't even tight. And so like when he did his stupid neck move, like PCO's hands like just slipped out because he didn't do it correctly. Fucking idiot. My friend Jeremy Peoples liked the brawl afterwards, and Brady says that the brawl was hot in the building. So hey man, like what you like. Backstage, Shelley talks about how he doesn't want Sabin out there because he's in the main event. Sabin demands that the Jet Setters absolutely can't throw in the towel, and Shelley tells him not to throw in the towel no matter what, which was foreshadowing them doing exactly that. I think it was Andrew Sinclair from Voices of Wrestling, and I know BQ had this thought too, that Sabin should be the one to throw in the towel. But once they put Sabin in the main event, it just didn't make any sense for him to be out there. Unless like that match led right into the Ali match, and it just didn't. It was like it was that match, then it was Jordan Grace, and then the Sabin and Ali. So MK Ultra defeated Decay. So they're just trading the titles back and forth. They're 2 of 3 tag teams in the division. So They just got to keep the division alive, for the purposes of making sure they have diversity, I guess. I don't know. But now Havoc landed a spine buster to Kelly for 2, and Rosemary wanted a spear, but ate a snowplow for the win. I'm an MK Ultra fan, so I am glad they got the tag team titles back. But I don't think that these titles are all that important when you only have 3 teams in the division. Now, they're going to have to defend the titles next against Danny Luna and Jody Threat. Why? How did they earn the tag team title shot? Well, they're the only other tag team. And they won a singles match. So they're up next. So they'll probably get that at Sacrifice in a couple weeks. And then Josh Alexander defeated Simon Gotch next. Before the match, they ran down the whole story, where Gotch feels slighted against because the last time they wrestled, Josh ended up getting a contract and Simon Gotch did not. Simon Gotch did not get a contract because he's like a decent wrestler, but nobody really cares about him. He is essentially like a dollar store Bobby Fish, right? Bobby Fish is a very good wrestler, right? But he's not really going to be anybody that like people pay to see. Red Dragon was pretty fucking cool though. Don't get me wrong. But like Bobby Fish, just Bobby Fish, like nobody really cares. And this is Simon Gotch too. But they brought him in, and look, this was a good match. And I knew it was going to be a good match because it's fucking Josh Alexander, right? If you're like a decent wrestler and you're wrestling Josh Alexander in a hot match, chances are it's going to be pretty good. But I'm not changing my stance on Simon Gotch just yet. Now, if they keep him around a little bit and he ends up ruling, I'm going to change my opinion. Look, I'll eat shit. I always do. I eat shit all the time. It's part of being a man. Like, yeah, you have to suck up when you're wrong all the time. But I thought this was a pretty good match. I think we all knew what the outcome was going to be. We'll go to the finisher. Alexander got a 2 on an exploder and wanted a C4 spike, but Gotch avoided it into a bulldog choke by moving the headgear around. I thought that was a pretty cool spot. So like he was doing a bulldog choke, but he actually slid the headgear down and like used the headgear as leverage to choke him even harder. And then he got the powerbomb backbreaker and the C4 spike to end it for Alexander. This was probably, I would say like 4th best match of the night. That's like if I were ranking the matches, like it's just a very good like pro wrestling match. And so you can't be mad at that. So, and then we go to the back. AJ Francis, Dollar General himself, meets with Rich Swann and tells him that it must be hard to see a former world champion like Alexander succeeding while he's losing on Explosion. God, that's pretty stiff. Francis says that just because they're opponents on Thursday doesn't mean they're enemies. AJ Francis is doing the best work of his career in this TNA run, says Jeremy Peoples, and I don't disagree. I think he's pretty funny. And he's kind of a geek, so I like the way they treat him. Next we go to Moose. He defeated Alex Shelley to retain the TNA World title in a no surrender match. So the no surrender match, go over the stipulations real quick again, is that your cornermen have to throw in the towel. That's the only way it could end. Or if your cornermen like physically get involved in the match, then you're disqualified. So there's like no DQ except under those circumstances. And poor Jade Chung, she had such a hard time explaining these rules. They did not do her any and I think she tried to do it without cards. I was like, look, I understand we used to make fun of David Penzer for always reading his cards, but he's reading the cards to like learn the names of the wrestlers that he sees every week. Like he kept forgetting, so that's why we made fun of him. But if the stipulations are slightly complicated, like use the cards. But she got lost, and I think like somebody had to like whisper to her like what she was supposed to say, and then she finally like eventually like hit the line. But yeah, she struggled to make the announcement. I felt bad for her. She's pretty new, so I did like this match. If again, if we're ranking, it's like 5th best match, I would say. But I thought that it should have been bloody. I just felt like that would have added to the drama of the match. And maybe, I don't know why they didn't do blood. Like they did some pretty violent stuff. Like I thought there was a spot where Alex Shelley pulled Moose's like fingers, like through the corner, like bolts. right? And then like he took a crescent wrench and he bent one of his fingers back. And I was like, oh wow, that's pretty fucking brutal. So I thought that was really cool. But I thought they should have used blood to make it more dramatic, because he with the finish came when Kushida threw in the towel after Moose was just hitting spears. And then he hit a spear with a chain wrapped around his shoulder. I didn't I didn't understand. I I think they're gonna go somewhere with the finish, so I'm not like completely gonna shit on it. If Shelly's going heel because Kushida threw in the towel, and now we're gonna get a Shelly and Kushida feud, I think that's where we go. But I just didn't think 3 spears warranted a throwing of the towel, which might actually add to the story. Maybe that's where they're going. Like, hey, look, I can take those spears all day. Why would you throw in the towel? Like that wouldn't have even pinned me. He goes, I might have kicked out at like 2.5 on that deal, but you threw in the towel. So maybe that's why because I think that we've been eating a Shelly heel turn for a long time. So maybe that's where we go with it. That could be the story. And that's probably why this was not the main event, because they were doing an angle at the end. So we'll see on that. So hold on. Kurt, we're going to call Brady Kurt because he uses fucking Kurt. All right. Explain this stupid match to me, Mike. Who are the heels and who are the faces? Why did they pull people off the apron as they're about to throw in the towel? And why are the faces stalking down a woman? Okay, the woman is a heel, and they're trying to intimidate her because everybody wants to hit Alicia Edwards. And in this company, they do intergender, so you can beat up the girls. That's pretty explainable there. So that's just what they do in Impact, and they murder people in this company. So, but the heels were Moose and the System, which is why they were like slipping brass knucks and all that stuff. But because it's like a no DQ match, everybody was kind of cheating. Now, why does Kushida have a dumb haircut? Like, why don't you have a haircut? Why do you have so much hair, Brady? Answer me that. And why is Kushida an idiot? I guess we'll find out. I think maybe Kushida was not like a trained and licensed cornerman. That's probably what happened. And then Moose and Shelly could have been a bloody match to add to the drama. Yes, Nonzo, I agree. I thought it was a much better match than I thought it was going to be. They had a table spot. I thought a lot of the brutal stuff. They had some good drama in the match, and of course, we got to see Kevin Knight do one of his big dives. So yeah, I thought I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I thought it could have been better. Like I said, 5th ranked match of the night. So after the match, Ash by Botox and her personal concierge are out for the VIP treatment. Jeremy, the concierge, is George Iceman. Place some respect on that man's name. For the Knockouts title match. And then Jordan Grace and Giselle Shaw went on to have a pretty damn good match. Like I knew it would be pretty good, but boy, this was like better than I thought it was going to be. It was awesome. They freaking went at it. Like match number 2 of the night, second best match of the night. I really thought these showed out. And then so there's this one spot where Grace and Shaw are on the ring apron, and Grace is going for a juggernaut driver, and Shaw countered it and hit a Spanish fly off the apron, and that one made me cringe because I remember when John Morrison and Brian Cage did that years ago. Brian Cage was out of action for months, and he was the champion. And his steroids couldn't heal him very quickly, so the TNA just didn't have a champion for a little bit. I think he ended up that was in April, and I think he returned July. So that was a tough deal because he hurt his back really bad. I don't know if he ever completely recovered. He's still wrestling, but that was a pretty tough deal. And so for them to do that here, I thought was pretty crazy. All right. So, and then Jake Something hypes up Ali versus Sabin as the main event. And he said he's coming for gold. Okay. I love Jake Something. I've been begging them to get behind Jake Something for a long time. But why is Jake doing a promo before the X Division title match, basically kind of foreshadowing that he's going to get a title shot when he just fucking lost to Frankie Kazarian 2 weeks ago? Why? Who has he beaten since then to warrant a title shot? The answer is not a goddamn single person. Now maybe he beat like She-Ra on Explosion, but that doesn't mean you get a title. Like, can we be consistent? Right? Somebody get Tommy Dreamer on the phone. I want to talk to Tommy Dreamer. Son of a bitch. Be consistent. Like, if you're gonna okay, push the guys that I like. Okay, that's awesome. But if you're gonna do it right. Get him some wins before he goes and challenges for a title. Okay? Jake rules. But you guys cut his legs off when you had him lose to fucking King Frankie. Okay? The guy was a monster, killer, starting the year off hot. You guys are pushing him as a monster, and then you make him lose in Kissimmee, Florida, in front of a bunch of people sitting on their hands. So that way, because Frankie's going to go wrestle Eric Young. You dummies. The main event was awesome, though. Mustafa Ali. This was my match of the night. I think a lot of people out there were like 4.5, going 4.5. I'd go for it. Like, yeah, this wasn't like a 5-star classic, but I thought it was very good. And Ali was like the most over dude in the match, which happens when like a guy comes off WWE TV and he's going around telling everybody he's been persecuted for years, right? And so he's got a big following. So I knew he would be a little bit over, but I didn't think he'd be as over as he was. And when he came out, with his entourage, like his Secret Service, this was like the only time I've ever seen him wrestle. And I watched a lot of his stuff when he was in like the crew, like 205 Live, because I watched his stuff with what's his name, and he's over in AEW, but Buddy Murphy. He had like a series of matches with that guy, and but I was like, okay, this guy's a good wrestler, but I just don't think he's a star. I thought he was actually like a star here. Like the entrance, the whole deal, the gimmick, the costume. He come out, and then of course the fans treated him as such. So they positioned him in the main event, gave him the star entrance. Fans loved it, and then he go in with Chris Sabin. Ali's working heel, but the fans are booing Sabin, which leads me to my next thing. I thought Shelley should go heel after Kushida throwing in the towel. Maybe Sabin joins him there, and we have heel machine guns. I think that would be cool. I think when they first got together, they were heels, but it's been a very long time since they've worked heel, like together in tandem. Like Sabin was off and on a heel for a long time. He could always go back and forth, but I think if we get heel machine guns, I think that would be interesting for the tag team division and keep them in that tag team division, which seems to be pretty stacked right now. I think that would be awesome. But this was the match of the night. It was awesome. Ali gets the victory here. I'm not going to do like a blow-by-blow, play-by-play because I got to go here in a couple minutes. But if you're going to watch one match, I would say this is the match that you need to go out of your way to see. Actually, I already texted some of my friends. Like, yeah, like everything else. This was like a pretty good show. It wasn't like blow away. TNA is all the way back. Like everybody buy stock in TNA show. But this is a real good pro wrestling show. And I know Brady was there. He had a good time. Other people there in the audience had a pretty good time. So and I had a really good time watching it. And then it closed with a hell of a match, like a very good main event. And people were questioning, why is this the main event? I was like, well, because look, they did a gimmick with the Moose match. And they're crowning a new champion here, and this might be a guy they can get behind. The only problem is that I don't know that Ali signed here. He's going to be working everywhere. So hopefully they got enough dates on him. I know he's booked through Rebellion in April, but I don't know if they got him beyond that. But the way they positioned him made it seem like he's one of the top stars in the company. But the way they positioned this thing and the way they presented this Ali thing made me think that like the X Division title is pretty fucking important. And I think that's a good thing. That's awesome. And then they put it on Ali, who's coming across like a pretty big star. He looked more important than he ever did in WWE. So I think he could be a big deal here in TNA. I like him in this company. I've liked the vignettes. I like the look. I have not watched his indie stuff. So for those of you you let me know if you like his indie stuff. I haven't been watching. I don't really watch a ton of indie wrestling. Occasionally I'll check matches out here and there. you know, if they're like blow away matches, but like you're not gonna get me to watch. Like I'm not gonna sit down and watch like 2.5 hours of fucking West Coast Pro on Fight TV. It's just not gonna happen. Unless like somebody that I really love is on that show, and that's the only way I can watch them. But if I can end up watching him, like I'm not gonna go watch Wrestling Revolver because John Moxley's on it. I see him on Dynamite every week, right? So it's not what I'm doing. So, but yeah, I really enjoyed this match. I really enjoyed this show. This is the first show of the TNA Plus era, meaning the TNA Plus specials that you can just get with your subscription. This is the first one, and I thought they knocked it out of the park. I thought they had a really good one. Is it going to bring in a bunch of people? Is it going to redeem them from all the dramas they've had over the last couple weeks? Probably not. And given the fact that it went right up against SmackDown, I don't think that many people watched it. But I think word of mouth will get people to probably check it out eventually. Specifically this match. I think Ali has a lot of momentum right now. He does. He has a lot of more momentum than I thought he had, because there was a lot of people in that audience that were there to see him, and I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought there was probably just people that like they went down to, I don't know what they call it, and I've never been in New Orleans, but fucking Bourbon Street, is that what they call it? I just figured they probably like recruited some drunks down there like on a bus and bust them in, but they actually had people that wanted to be there, much better than what they had 2 years ago last time they were there. Where Brady, Kurt Kaysen himself was able to just walk in for free. So this was a hot ticket. This is a good show. I think you guys should check it out if you want to see a pretty damn good pro wrestling show. And from what I'm hearing, this is better than Elimination Chamber, because Elimination Chamber is getting pretty negative reviews right now. I have yet to see it. I'm going to try to check it out late tonight. So. But guys, thank you for being here. Make sure you hit the like button, make sure you're a subscriber, and throw down a comment on the video. I'd really appreciate it. And go over to patreon.com/the Mike and JD show. We got tons of content out. My recap of this week's Impact is on there. I believe JD is doing a JD Oliva project at some point today. And tomorrow night, JD and I are going to be recording our finale of the Sting Week series, Sting's Greatest Rivals. We're going to talk about Sting versus Hulk Hogan. And then that will be immediately up on Patreon, and then it's going to be released eventually here on the Mike and JD Show YouTube channel. So be on the lookout for that. And speaking of which, Sting Week starts on Monday. I am going to release Sting versus Ric Flair in the Sting's Greatest Rivals series. So JD and I did a whole thing, but it's going to be audio only on the YouTube, so you can listen to it. But if you want to watch it, go to patreon.com/the Mike and JD Show, because there's stuff on there that we did that YouTube won't like we'll get copyright, because we actually watched like parts of matches, and we had like Sting versus Flair like in the background as we're talking. So and then we did that a couple times. We actually watched like full matches of Stings. So so you won't be able to see some of them. I'll release some of the videos, but some of it's going to be audio only. So if you want the full experience, head over to the Patreon and check it out there. I greatly appreciate it. All right, guys. Thanks everybody in the chat. Thanks to Brady and the World of Stage. Thanks to Nonzo. Thanks everybody who was watching live. And until next time, mahalo.